broken system, chained and tangled up in lies. Voices shouting, screaming in defeat. Politicians playing games under darkened skies. Hope lost in the dust of the street. Red and blue, colors pouring from the sky. Debates turn to anger, the crowd gets loud. Punches flying in the blink of an eye. Truth buried deep beneath the shroud. Welcome to the bullpen, where the weak will survive. These broken dreams we defend, trying to keep alive. Faces on the screen, flashing perfect teeth. But behind those eyes, just rotting greed. Politicians turn to whispers beneath. They all just get what they need. Whispering conspiracies, drowning in their lies. Echoes of freedom, lost in cries. Spin the wheel of fate, let's see who rise. But this game will bleed you dry. Welcome to the bullpen, where the weak will survive. These broken dreams we defend, trying to keep alive. Welcome to the bullpen, where the weak will survive. These broken dreams we defend, trying to keep alive.
Hey everybody, it's Sunday night, so it is time for the bullpen, and we're going old school. It's just me and Chad. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Jackson Dart won his first game, so everything's looking great.
Yeah?
Beat the Chargers. It was good.
So you're a little bit happier than last week, huh?
I am. Last week I was salty as shit. But no.
Yeah, you were.
And the reason Mad's not here is because he's enjoying the fact that the Cowboys came back from 13-0 to be leading 16-13 at halftime.
Nice. Yeah, I doubt he'll be joining because he's not going to give up a Cowboys game to talk about politics at all. So,
No. I feel bad that our Ryder Cup team couldn't quite pull it off.
yeah,
They made a.
it's
they
been a
made
few years since I paid attention, but the last few Ryder Cups, hasn't it been
They
kind of
lost,
dominant on the European side?
They lost 15-13, so they screwed up on the team matches on Friday and Saturday,
Yeah,
but they only lost one of the singles today.
the singles.
Everything else was either a win or a tie.
Heard it got a little bit rowdy as well.
Well, yeah, because that Euro trash was on our soil, so they have to deal with it. It's funny because I like Rory McIlroy. I think he's a good guy. But while I was watching a little bit of Ryder Cup with my father, and he missed a birdie putt to not win the hole, and I was like, "Take that, you Eurotrash piece of shit!" And my dad was like, "Don't you like Rory?" I was like, "Not this weekend."
Not in America versus Europe.
Yeah. So it was good.
It's kind of like during the Four Nations thing with hockey. It was like, I hate the Kachucks, but when they're on the U.S. team, yeah, I'm cheering for the Kachucks, and that's a given. So there's our sports talk for the week. I'm sure we'll get an update on the Cowboys game at some point because you're probably keeping an eye on it, right?
Yeah, it's at halftime.
Yeah. And Boosh, after you were talking about your team doing okay. Listen to how happy he is. Nobody knew you were salty last week.
I think you guys could probably tell, but
Eh,
it's in.
we had enough people that you weren't doing a whole lot of talking. So, and there are a few things where you jumped in a lot, but it seemed like you were a little bit quieter than usual on this show, at least. So,
Yeah, because I was stewing in my grumpiness. But
well,
on the
and the game
plus
was
side,
still going on at the time, wasn't it?
I was watching the tracker, and I
Yeah.
had it on another screen. But that game has resulted in Dart moving to starting status, so I can be happy with it now in hindsight.
I'm assuming QB.
Correct.
Okay. I haven't paid attention to the NFL in years, so supposedly the Broncos were going to be good this year, and then I've watched them get beaten by a total of 4 points over 2 games, all last second field goals. So whatever. But yeah, we did have some sad and angering news this morning. We had another church attacked, this time in Michigan. A guy decided to drive his car into the church, deliberately set it on fire, and then open fire on people in the church and then the cops as they showed up. So last I heard, four dead, 8 injured, and then the shooter is down as well. Is that what you understood
Yeah,
it to be as well?
that's where I've got, I think, as the last update. But yeah,
Yeah,
obviously, these things, especially with the number of injuries and or fatalities, tend to take about 24 to 48 hours to really finalize on what those are.
yeah. And the whole church was completely engulfed in fire. The pictures from it were kind of crazy. But yep, we've got more violence happening, and we keep seeing more and more violence seemingly happening towards the Christian faith. And I understand this was a Mormon church, so and there will be that. I'm not going to make that argument here. So I would just say on things that most people reflect on as the Christian faith. So it's getting pretty
For
ugly out there.
for the purposes of what we're trying to do with alignment on the right, understand that from the left wing communist
From
leftist
those outside
perspective,
the church,
if you say Jesus anywhere in your prayers
right?
or denomination, whether it's Mormon, Lutheran, Calvinist,
Catholic,
Baptist, Catholic, you're all the same to them.
yeah,
We obviously in the Christian community have a finer view of alignment and sex and different, groups, but that's not how it works from the leftist side.
yeah. And that's kind of what I was getting at. It's an attack on the faith, and it's a specific faith because you really don't see these attacks going on certain other faiths. So, and then we had the news out of Nigeria this week that Christians are just being slaughtered wholesale over there. It is Nigeria, isn't it?
I
Like
believe.
like I was telling Chad before the show, I was paying attention this week, but also my daughter and granddaughter are moving halfway across the country on Wednesday. So I've been not as online as usual. So I'm not up to date on quite everything because we've been trying to spend time with them before they leave. So it's going to be a very weird week. First time either of the kids is really leaving the house and leaving the state all the way over to Tennessee. So, um, good news is, maybe if I get it out to Tennessee, we'll figure out a way to get up to see you guys at some point too. Chad and well, Slender is not here, but I'm sure it'll be easier to kick off something from starting in Nashville than it is from starting out here. So,
Nashville is a good 10 hours away, probably, but yeah.
yeah, but that's like the halfway point between between the two. So, because well, drive, I think Nashville's 18 hours from where I'm at right now. So, but Nashville is where we would have to fly in to get to Fort Campbell. So,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if we're going to be going down to Tennessee, we can go to Pigeon Forge and just have a good old time at Dollywood.
Yeah, could. And then we can go see one of my best friends from high school. He's in a band in Nashville. He's a drummer, and they do shows every weekend at different bars, and then travel during the week to different places to do shows. So I'm sure we'd be able to be shown a pretty good time in Nashville if you ever headed down that way to meet me part way. But so that's what's going on with in my world. So yes, I'm a little distracted at the moment, but um, so what they have said about the shooter is 40-year-old former military, I believe Marine, right?
I know. I've just seen like Iraq War vet. I didn't know which branch yet.
Pretty sure I saw that he was a Marine, retired Marine vet. So um, I'm sure that will be what the left uses to try to point him out as MAGA because he was in the military. But as we all know, members of the military are not all Republicans. So I'm sure we'll get some more
No.
stuff coming out over the next few days.
Yeah, I don't.
And looks like we're getting the culture raid. So
Yay.
welcome to everybody from Late Night Culture. I'll be on there starting next week. I'll probably be doing that show as it leads into this show. So welcome over. What were you going to
Thanks
say
for
about
showing up. I was gonna say, it's just it's very odd. I think that there's a lot of stuff that people are gonna think of, and this is where the conspiracy theory kind of stuff is gonna come in. He's wearing himself in the trappings of what is generally considered MAGA, right?
right? Two American flags.
Two giant American flags on his truck and things like that. Well, not giant, regular size, but I mean, but I think I've seen stuff that makes it pretty clear he was left. Like there's people who are pointing to a picture of his property where there's a Trump Pence sign on there, like on a thing, and they're like, look, he had a Trump Pence sign. And what they're ignoring is right on the same fence where he had that is a big stop sign next to that, like stop Trump Pence.
Right.
You know, it's like somebody's not using their eyes to put two and two together right here. So
Well, and
I
just
think
basic context clues of who is being attacked, Christians, and that doesn't tend to be an attack from the conservative side of things.
no, and it's funny because they're like he wore camo and he went hunting and he's a military vet, and I was like, are you talking about him or Tim Walz? Because he checks all those boxes too. Not there. We are not a monolith, right? There's no group that is completely homogeneous, right? So
Right.
the fact that he does those things doesn't necessarily always equate to being MAGA. That being said, I'm intrigued to kind of see why. Like it seems very like a Mormon church for those of us who aside from it being an attack on general faith, right? Why it does like what it Mormons are known generally for being fairly welcoming and nice. They're not usually how do I put this? They're not as stringent. They're not as angry as some groups, right? So
Right.
I don't know what would have happened. Usually, there's like we know from in a lot of the trans shootings, right? They're actually generally connected to those churches or schools, right? They either went there or they had family. Like the one in Nashville or Tennessee
Right.
was a student at that
Went
school.
to that school.
Yeah.
Yep.
The one in Minnesota, I believe, was
The mother worked there.
the
I
mother
believe.
worked there or had a connection to that school. So I don't know if we're gonna find a connection to this church or to people within that church. I mean, I think my idea is that in addition to the Christian thought process of general demonic forces at play pushing anti-Christian actions,
Hatred.
as agents of chaos would, there's usually something from somebody who has a mental illness that anchors or triggers them to attack certain places.
Right.
So I mean, and this is more from the standpoint of we should. I know that the argument's gonna eventually it'll boil down to gun control or not, right? That's what it tends to. But what we should be looking at from a society standpoint is from a mental health intervention place. Where did this person have their break? Who observed or was aware of it? And what should we do to prevent people with this kind of mental health crisis from being in a position to hurt others?
And were there things that were stoking those flames? Like, say, calling everybody a fascist or a Nazi.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
But I also don't want to get into the habit of calling every single one of these things a mental health issue, because I think some of these people are just evil.
See, but I would.
I mean, that's personal. The way I
would
view it,
as a society, to deal with them,
right?
People who are you still have to put them in asylum or something.
Yeah.
You have to identify them. So, like Lindsay over there says, with make insane asylums open again.
Well, and I think I saw Trump was making an announcement on trying to do something about that, wasn't he? Earlier, either yesterday or today.
I think he signed an executive order a while back, and he's been trying to push for it. Yeah.
Yeah. But like a few of the other things, he still needs Congress to do their job to get some of these things to actually happen, even with the executive order. Kind of like the Secretary of War is still the Secretary of Defense, except for the executive order. And he still has to have Congress actually vote to change that. So some things are functional at the moment. Others still need pieces of Congress doing their thing to actually get things to happen. So, but yes, I think asylums are a great step. It would be very nice to have a place to put these people that can't be trusted in society anymore.
Yeah, I know that there's people talking about using this as an example of possible shenanigans or glowy ops.
Right.
And there's not an insignificant there's a non-zero chance it could be something like that. But I mean, I look at it that when we're looking as a society, right, to minimize these risks, what is really the issue? And I think it goes back to people, and this is something where, like, Brahma's pinpointing that he feels they're people who are genuinely evil. Well, they still display the same characteristics as the mentally ill.
Right, sociopaths, psychopaths. Yeah.
So the answer is going to probably end up being the same, which is putting them into some kind of mental health facility where they can't harm others. No.
The thing is, they don't want to jail them, and the rest of the sane portion of the citizenry doesn't trust them to be amongst us. So you've got to figure out some place to put them.
I'm also not I am also wary of the idea of people in government being able to assess who deserves to be considered mentally ill.
Right.
Because I know from the leftist perspective,
anybody on the right
would be considered mentally ill for believing what we believe.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I keep going back to, is that our Constitution was made for a moral and religious society, and we've gotten so far away from that the Constitution is going to be challenged in quite a few ways because of things like this, where you can't just call something morally good or morally bad because the left doesn't accept terms of morality. We can do it. They are incapable of it at this point. So
yeah, I do think there's something that you could point out, and for the greater argument that removing God from society is the root cause of a lot of these problems, and putting that back in place would put a lot of those guardrails back up.
Yeah, the moral guardrails that the country was kind of founded on. Yeah, I mean, me personally, yes, I kind of take it all back to that. When you remove God from society, then where is the moral compass? So we also had another shooting this week, or last week, the Dallas ICE case, which I'm going to be interested to see what they find in the Michigan church shooting case, just because I'm interested to see if anything is etched onto casings and stuff like that, because I think the Dallas Ice thing was probably, in a way, a copycat thing because of the etching on the bullets, which goes back even before the Charlie Kirk shooter. I think there was one at the end of last year where they were doing that. It seems to be something that especially shooters from the left are trying to do to get across their points. But we did have that happening at the ICE facility in Dallas, where I believe it was two detainees were actually who got shot because he was just randomly shooting into the building from the roof across the way. So it's been another violent week, and then we've got Portland kind of popping off right now and last night. So
I'm really glad Trump finally sent in, the backup forces to kind of lock that down.
yeah, because Portland, at least last night, it was starting to look real ugly. I mean, and Portland itself, if the pictures that I have seen of just their underpasses and their streets right now in certain areas of that town, it's a third world country. It's a hellhole. They have turned most of the things on that coast, most of the big cities on that coast, into hellholes with the homeless and with just everybody being allowed to do anything they want just about any time they want. So it hopefully bringing in these extra backup will actually do something to help stop the crime waves and the lawlessness out there. But I don't know. The people who run these states don't actually seem to give a crap. So it's hard to make them take responsibility for their own state. There's only so much Trump can do within the law.
Yeah, we definitely know Pritzker's not going to be helping him in Illinois.
Right. Even though he should be welcoming it.
Yeah, I mean he should. Chicago is a failed city at this point. I think I saw a
Most large
statistic.
cities are.
I saw a statistic that there was like 5 kids in all of the Chicago school systems that rated proficient in mathematics in high
Right.
school. 5. Not like 5%. 5.
Yeah, that's like Baltimore not having anybody at an 8th grade level in any of their subjects in the graduating class. And yeah, the cities have failed.
My guess is that anybody with any kind of means in Chicago is either one moving out into the suburbs where they're going to those school systems for their kids, or they're sending them to probably private Catholic or parochial schools or private institutions just to be out of there completely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've been advocating for people to get their kids out of the public school system and into homeschooling, or at least try to get them into, a private Christian school, although that is costly. But I know you do. You do not do the public school thing with your kid, so
I do. Yeah, we do the homeschooling. It's great. It's awesome. Best way to do it if you can pull it, and it's not as time consuming as you would think.
right. Yeah, I think my daughter's going to look into it. I know a few of my friends from high school, because I had kids early. They're in a completely different world than I am now. They've all got like elementary age kids now, and there's quite a few of them that are doing like 2 days at a school to where they get some, social interaction, but the other 3 days are at home. So do what you can to keep your kids out of that school system, because it is corrupting everybody. Moderate K for $1. Police and arrests do not matter if no one prosecutes criminals. These people know the state, local, and local Fed will do nothing. Pretty much.
Well, they got some indictments in Illinois just earlier this week, so they're prosecuting, and they famously, as is one of our topics tonight, we got an indictment out of the Eastern District of Virginia for a certain individual.
Yeah. Which we can probably just move on to that. I mean, that's what the episode was named after, so it's kind of the main topic, although it's not really, because I don't know how much we can actually do on it, because right now it's an indictment.
Real quick, before we do that, I do want to share this because I just saw this thing from that somebody shared on Twitter, which is
Okay.
the NHS National Health Service of Britain now says first cousin marriage is linked to stronger extended family support system and economic advantages.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what is going on in England that might make them feel they have to suddenly be okay with first cousin marriage again.
Could it be because Pakistanis have like the highest level of incest amongst any country in the world, and they've sent a whole bunch of them over there? At least I'm pretty sure it's Pakistanis.
Yeah, in England, it's all right. What's funny is, and this is only because of the way we think of things culturally. In England, they'll refer to them as Asians
Right.
because, for their purposes, you know, they're from the continent of Asia.
Right.
So,
Because we can't distinguish between the Orient and the rest of Asia anymore.
whereas in
Part
the
of the reason.
whereas in the United States, for our purposes, Asian is considered basically Southeast Asia, China, Japan. And India is its own thing. We just call them
The subcontinent.
subcontinent, and then Pakistan, Afghanistan, all the other stuff becomes Middle Eastern.
Right. But they lump it all in as
They do.
Asians.
So, but yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe that they're we're in the same way. It's like, here, let's do digital ID and make first cousin marriage cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the digital ID thing, that one's not looking good for them. I mean, we already have said that, pretty much the UK has fallen, but you get that one going in and you're truly done, I think.
I mean, that's the goal because they look at how Canada successfully put down the trucker protests, and this was without digital ID. It was just by freezing banking and go in all services. If you
Yeah.
had digital ID, you could have even done that more, more strategically to put the screws to those people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want. I mean, the idea Sturmer comes out there that we need digital ID to be able to hold off and control immigration. It's amazing. Donald Trump managed to control immigration without digital ID over here.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Stop letting them come in. Actually enforce your immigration policy. The thing is, what they're doing over there is, you come in, they put you into a luxury hotel that the taxpayers are funding. They give you everything you need. They feed you, they clothe you, they do everything. And then what they're doing to their citizens is, all right, now we need to know who you guys are. So we're going to need a digital ID for you. And yeah, I don't see. I mean, we were talking, I believe it was last week or maybe the week before, about, maybe portions of the UK actually standing up for themselves, but I still think it's just too far gone.
I know Scottish National Party and the Scottish government, because technically, remember, Great Britain is Wales, England, Scotland together.
Right.
Scotland, and they have basically home rule over the Scottish section,
Mm-hmm.
has come out strongly against it. They're like, nope, we're not in. We're not. And they're usually an ally of Labor.
Yeah. Yeah. Eric K pulled up the stat for me. Pakistani incest rates are between 60 to 77% sister or first cousin. If you go beyond sister or first cousin, the number gets even higher. But that's who's been being imported into the Western world.
I know that I saw a story where it was one
Of course,
of those
we've got a
guys.
brother sister here in America that are pretty famous for being married to.
That's true. And luckily, that has gotten the attention of Trump, and he's working on it.
We hope so. I know he's mentioned it. I don't know what he's working on.
Speaking of illegals, I mean, my favorite story of the week this past week was our wonderful superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools in Iowa making an annual salary of $305,000.
Mm-hmm.
This is this is his salary. He's a superintendent, $305,000. This is him. This is his arrests. He overstayed his initial student visa from 1999, arrested on weapons charges in 2020, then selected as Des Moines superintendent in 2023. Clearly, background check not done.
Right.
Deportation order, actually ordered deported since 2024. Arrested when he was evading ICE officers in 2025 with weapons on his person.
Mm-hmm. And then
Like,
they have him in charge of your kid's education.
yeah, this is him when he was officially hired, like for the role.
Thank you, Madam President. I
Not one
stand here
like
this evening before you with immense gratification.
how do they hire think of this? Because he checked all the right boxes, there's no way they did any kind of cursory background check on him.
Because even the most minor background check is going to bring up your criminal record.
Yeah, these were
I don't know. Right before he started talking, I really could only picture Mike Tyson's voice coming out of him for some reason. I was kind of surprised when he actually talked.
And certainly a sense of pride and humility. I am incredibly grateful for the vote of confidence that the board has shown. It was clear to me
I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah. I've got to eat his children.
Now you're on The Simpsons.
I know. Gojira says somebody did a deep dive. He's got 3 to 4 dates of birth, multiple bullshit degrees, the gun charges, fake book, and potentially fake marriage.
So, if you want to know who's in charge of educating your children, if you go to the institutions, this is who they decided should be getting 300 grand a year to run the biggest school system in Iowa.
300 grand in Iowa.
Yep.
I mean, think of what that actually equates to in some other places, because Iowa is not a high cost of living place. Nate, for $5. The chair of the Des Moines School Board is Michelle Obama's former chief of staff. Really? Did not know
Makes
that.
sense now. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, and of course, in response to this, I know that one of the people from the school board who hired him was like, I would really like us to take a moment to practice racial equity in our thoughts on this. Like, really?
Yeah. I mean, was that most of the board behind him that was clapping?
Yep, that was the board, and it was unanimous when they hired him.
Yeah. That's exactly what I would expect the board to look like. I'm just surprised they hired a male. I guess he checked enough of the boxes.
Yes, he did. He checked so many of the boxes.
Or maybe they thought he would be a puppet for all their voices. Who knows? But yeah, definitely a messed up situation. But so many of them are at this point. All right, so do you want to get into Mr. Comey?
Yeah, why not? Our favorite now indicted former head of the FBI, who was indicted on, I believe, 3 counts. 2 of making false statements to the Congress while under oath, and 1 for obstructing justice.
Yep. Basically lying to Congress.
Oh, looks like we got a chat that we should probably get into.
Yep. $5 from Mark Daly. Now watch the media portray this guy as a modern day Jean Valjean from Les Mis. I haven't seen what the coverage has been because it's so localized, but I'm sure that's going to be what's going on once it actually goes national.
I only stole that gun to feed my sister.
Right.
Does that make I guess that would make Christy Nome Javert?
Shooting dogs.
I mean, maybe we can ask Lauren. We'll ask Lauren Boebert what it's like going to see this play in person.
Yes.
If she paid attention or if she was busy making sure the crowd was having a good time.
Lauren does love plays.
At least her date does.
Oh, he really loves plays. So,
Yeah, so Comey is in. All right, so he did get indicted. He got
by a
and this
grand
was
jury,
by a grand jury. So this
that's
was
14 people deciding, yes, there's enough to indict. But go ahead, sorry.
which is, and I know a lot of people are worried. The Eastern District of Virginia is not as purely, how do I put this, liberal as you would think. Let me share this. So this is the like district map for the courts in Virginia when you're going to federal court.
Right. And yes, he is a Biden appointee, the judge that got pulled, but he was also a former defense attorney, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Or
I
a
do
public
think
defender.
I think he's going to end up. By the way, he'll end up being having to be recused because he's got some other ties to Comey specifically. Or
Okay.
I think he worked directly for Comey.
But if you were going to get a Biden pull out of that area, wasn't that one probably the best of the Biden pulls?
Correct. Yeah, as those go. But here's the thing. All right, so this pink upper level is the Eastern District jury zone. So everyone would be worried mainly about Fairfax. That's the most liberal zone, mostly government workers. If you go to Loudoun, which is the one to the towards the upper point here, you're looking at probably from an election result standpoint.
Famous for its parents being domestic terrorists.
Yeah, from a election result standpoint, it's usually 60-40, but of late, because the left has been going so batshit crazy, they're dropping that down into the low 50s, which is why Winsome Sears has real possibility of still stealing an election over here. Now, then you've got Prince William County, which has been trending more towards Fairfax of late,
Yeah.
even a little more liberal than Loudoun, but still a very strong. This is where you're going to get into who's making up the jury pool when they get called.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
You know,
ask.
because it's got to have time. You know, who has time to be on a jury for a trial that's going to take 7 to 10 days? Usually retirees, military retirees, and I'll tell you what. As much as Comey likes the idea, you know, like if he gets a currently active government worker, those are his ideal. But if he gets like retired military veterans, and there's a lot of military retirees in that zone, people who maybe were in the military briefly and took other jobs and then have now retired or whatever. Military people get jammed up really hard if they ever get accused of lying to superior officers or in any kind of official capacity.
Right.
And they have zero tolerance for a lot of that shit. And this, by the way, is a fairly open and shut instance of lying to Congress. And Comey went up there and they got him, and this was specifically and Ted Cruz was the one who was doing the questioning. It was related to testimony he gave in 2017. And when they brought him back in 2020 under oath, they had new information, specifically Andy McCabe, who was his deputy director, who had been fired by Trump, had said he leaked information from the investigation on Comey's orders to the press.
Right.
Comey, when asked about it, said he said he wouldn't comment on it, but he reiterated that his original testimony from 2017, because he was trying to be cute, right? He knew he had gotten caught, so he wasn't.
See my
gonna
testimony from them. I'm not going to speak now.
Yeah. And his testimony from then was that he never did that.
Was perjuring.
So that is perjury. And since then, we've had two other people who were known Comey associates who have admitted to being pipelines for classified information being leaked to the press by James Comey. There was a college professor in New York that was a friend of his that he would do that with. There was another person who did public interviews on MSNBC admitting that he was one of the conduits for Comey to release information to the press. Both of them worked as special government employees at different times for Comey. That's a designation, by the way, that you can get when you're not hired through official channels. You get an SGE, special government employee. That means you're somebody's friend who is doing a specific task and getting paid for it.
Kind of like a criminal informant.
Yeah. So now ideally, if we could have it would have been great if we could have gotten outside of the Alexandria division, but unfortunately that's the zone that handles these matters. Like if you went to kind of the zone where I live, which is what's referred to as the Harrisonburg district, which is the Shenandoah Valley I-81 corridor, this effort would be in the getting the death penalty. The jury would be like, we're enhancing the charges.
Treason.
Yeah, treason. But here's the other thing. Remember the Johnny Depp trial?
Yeah.
That was handled out of the Alexandria division of federal courts. So, and if you may recall, the general legal consensus before the trial started was there's no way Johnny Depp could win that case because the, jury, the law, etc.
The bleeding hearts. Yeah.
Exactly. This is the same jury pool, and they came out strong against Me Too and all that. So this is not a zone where you're guaranteed a loss if you're Trump.
This is not their first high-profile prosecution.
No. So I think this is. I would say that it's still probably more difficult than not to get a conviction. I would say it's probably 60-40. Leaning towards they would acquit him because they just don't like Trump. But 40%, that's 4 in 10. If you were a baseball player, you'd be a Hall of Famer. So I think this is something where there's a legit, and this is where a lot of, especially now that we've got a new person running that division, and we're clearing out a lot of the lawyers who would be sabotaging things. So,
yeah, well, and a lot of people in the federal government, because of this whole Comey indictment, are trying to get out of the DOJ and a few other positions in protest, and they think that that's a problem for us. I'm happy that they're all showing their colors.
answer Awesome One's question, is that the place where the judge from Canada was in a position? No, that's the DC District Court. So that one's different. The reason they put those people on the DC District Court, the DC Federal District Court is considered the fast track to Supreme Court. So they always try to put their best and brightest in that zone so they can be moved up. I mean, that's how Kavanaugh moved up so fast on the Republican side. He was out of the DC District Court.
Yeah, and from the left, their breast and not brightest is who they're sending. So Jeremiah Hembry for $5. Did you hear about the New Orleans mayor getting arrested because they busted her? I am so happy, and I'm happy for Valiant Renegade, who you need to have on. I know Valiant a little bit. I've been on streams with him, but we've never actually talked like just me and him. So,
oh, I've heard about this the New Orleans case. It's crazy.
Yeah, I have not heard anything. So, what's going on with it?
All right, so the TLDR, too long didn't read, is that she is another Fonnie Wells, where she was banging her associate. In this case, her city provided police bodyguard.
Okay.
And she decided to start taking him on all her trips with her. And he's billing the government, like he billed the city over $70,000 in overtime for the trips.
For any moment that he's with her?
Yeah, he was billing her 15 hours a day, billing them for trips. And they've got text messages from WhatsApp where he's like, I'm so glad we went to Scotland where where things began and it was beautiful. And they got all her messages. They have messages from other city employees telling her that taking him on these trips is not proper, is illegal, and she needs to stop it. And of course, she told him to pound sand. And now that she's been indicted, I'll give you 3 guesses what her defense is, but you'll only need one.
I'm pretty sure I know.
You haven't even seen the mayor, but I'm going to let you go ahead and guess
Yeah,
with it.
I'm pretty sure I know.
It
It's
is
New Orleans.
Yeah, it is. They're only doing this because I'm a black woman, and they can, and so they'll have to attack me. And this is something that white politicians wouldn't have to deal with.
Right. New Orleans is known for not being completely, jacked up with their politics. Doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it reminds me almost of like the super mayor, that actual Justice Warrior has been going off on for the last year. I can't remember what city she's in, but yeah, she's just spending money left and right on whatever she feels like, doesn't listen to anybody, and then
The
finally got
craziest thing
busted
is
out of there.
when they got, and the Lori Lightfoot was the one they brought in to do the audit on her.
Right.
And then she tried to claim
Beetlejuice herself.
Yeah, and then she tried to claim Lori Lightfoot was racist. It's like she's a ugly black lesbian.
Yeah.
I mean, she's. Let me see how that one fits the bill.
Yeah. Lori Lightfoot, who hit every branch of the ugly tree on her way down, and comes out as lesbian, and is black. She's the one who is persecuting you. Don't think so. And yeah, Bush is right. Tiffany Hennessy was the name of the super mayor.
No, that's just perfect.
Would have been better if it was Karen, but
No, it would have been better if it was Tiffany Cavassier.
Cavathier.
It's a lady.
That's a lady right there. Yeah. No, I hadn't heard anything on the New Orleans stuff.
No, for those in the chat, when you're done watching our show and super chatting and joining as a member, which are all things you should be doing because it's totally worth it, supports the team. You can check out, there's a video Nate the lawyer did as an explainer on the charges and everything, and it's really well done. It kind of goes over the whole story.
When did all of this go down? Just in the last couple days?
I think just in the last little bit. Yeah, I know the Nate the lawyer video, I think, is just from the last 2 days.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. And if you want to see a whole bunch of fun stuff on the Super Mayor, just go back a few months and look at Actual Justice Warrior. Sean makes it pretty fun looking into her antics. So, and he's not a direct friend of the channel, but he's a friend of Keri, and Keri's a good friend of the channel. So, what do we got here?
So this is our bit of Schadenfreude. I'm just gonna play it without commentary and see how many people have been paying enough attention to understand why it's hilarious now.
All right.
When you assume you make an ass of you and me.
Tucker Carlson must have forgotten this lesson from The Odd Couple, because his latest January 6th conspiracy theory makes huge assumptions in a baseless bid to let rioters off the hook.
But strangely, some of the key people who participated on January 6th have not been charged.
Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene assuming Carlson is right and saying
Do we see the headline?
Yeah.
Fox propaganda host Carlson promotes insane conspiracy that FBI planned January 6th Capitol attack.
Coming
need
from
names and
CNN
answers
the
about the
potato.
FBI operatives who were involved. But this is just yet another baseless theory that Carlson has hyped to millions of people. The existence of unnamed, as yet uncharged co-conspirators does not mean that they were working undercover for the FBI. But in Tucker world,
Hey, Brahma, how many people did we find out were working undercover for the FBI in January 6th this week?
275. Just from the FBI. Who knows what other people were in that crowd? But 275 from the FBI were embedded in the crowd.
Doesn't really sound like a baseless, conspiracy theory, does it?
No, it almost sounds like a whole bunch of things that we were saying on January 6th, 7th, and 8th that, how many FBI people were in the crowd? How much Antifa was in the crowd? Who actually incited things? Because until they started shooting the pepper spray and the tear gas into the crowd, things really hadn't fired up much at all at that point. And then we still saw all the videos of people peacefully walking through even minding the ropes. So, yeah, little bit of vindication on that one, not just for Tucker, but for all of us. And I want them to get to the bottom of what those 275 were doing.
Clay, this is a video from like 2021, where this commentary, it's just pointing out how
I'm not sure it was that early. I think it was when Tucker had just gotten all the video from Mike Johnson of the January 6th attack. He aired the one night of it, and then he was taken off the air by Fox. So I'm pretty sure that's when this was taking place. So it was like in the last couple days of Tucker being on Fox.
Okay, so yeah, that would put it in 2022 after, actually no, 23, because it would have been after the 22 elections where they took the House back.
Where we got the House back, yeah.
And then released the January 6th stuff.
I'm not 100% on that, but that's when he was talking about this stuff specifically, because that's how, after he had gotten all the footage, and he did the 1 or 2 nights on the January 6th stuff with all the video that they had poured through, and then he was suddenly off the air.
Yeah, Gojira's right. This is the new, this is Cash's explanation, which is bullshit. That they all just went once stuff popped off and were trying to do crowd control. Bullshit.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
I don't believe that, which is why I have issues with Cash.
Him and Bondi have been stepping in it left and right. Copy Kitty celebrates 11 months of membership. I want arrests. Also, Chad, before the end of the show, if Copied is still around, she had made a comment back before all the Charlie Kirk stuff happened, when we did the Ask Us Anything segment. She had something that she wanted to ask us, so remind me before we actually end tonight to get her question and see if we can answer it.
Of course, Copied deserves answers.
Also, Mod Eric K for $1. We all knew that the FBI was in deep in Jan 6, if not caused it all. Look at the way almost all planned the assassination of the Minnesota governor. The 2 innocent guys were charged. It was all FBI. Yeah, that was the Whitmer thing, of which like 12 of the 20 people that were there were FBI making the plans. So,
yep.
FBI is a dirty, dirty organization. And they wonder why we've all lost trust in them. Maybe it's because almost every time anything happens in this country, it is known to the FBI.
As viewers of the Bullpen are well aware, we've gone over the known history of the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
And they are not a good organization. They have never been a good organization. They have never been anything but a blight on the American people. Yeah.
Eric, you may be right. With all of these things, it starts to get fuzzy at some point. I need notes to go back and look at all of these different crazy things that have happened over the past few years. Try to keep it straight in the head, but the point is the majority of the people involved in that Whitmer, possible assassination attempt, the majority of the people were FBI agents.
Yeah, I think it was 12 of the 18. Involved.
Yeah, I thought it was 12 of 20. Eric thinks it's 11 of 13. The point is, more people were FBI than were regular people that were supposedly in on the planning.
Correct. They are
kind of like the FBI is the one who wanted to take out Whitmer.
Yeah, the FBI is not anybody's friend.
Nope.
And when it comes to a lot of mass shootings, I won't be surprised if we find out that the guy today in, the one that happened today was known.
The Michigan church.
What's our favorite thing? That he was known to the FBI. Yep.
Say the words, class.
Say the words. He was known.
We'll see. So, I mean, I don't want to put anything out there that's ahead of it, but yes, I would be willing to bet that. But we also did have some fun news out of the FBI. there was a picture of a whole bunch of FBI agents kneeling about George Floyd, and 15 of those people were identified and fired from the FBI. So
I wonder if they were fired
little
because
house cleaning.
Cash made him try to do a pull-up since that's the new standard.
The one pull-up for a female agent.
And they couldn't.
Yeah.
Hey,
now if
Brahma,
only we... What's up?
I was gonna say, do you want to know the only proper way to celebrate after that? Here you go. Check this out. This is how you celebrate after finding out about the firing of those FBI agents.
All right.
Action!
Here it goes. And here it comes. Did the slide to the
slide into the flyover
with the salute. Look at that. He even stopped and did the salute to him.
Could go without the woman in the background.
I mean, when you got drunk girls on the lake, they're gonna do that. That's what,
it's implied.
But that's I mean that's how, in my mind's eye, that's what I was doing, hearing about them finally getting fired because they deserve it.
Yeah. Did you speaking of flyovers, did you happen to see the Trump flyover of the Ryder Cup? I guess we will have a little bit more sports.
Yeah, I think that was when, and man, the golfers love Trump, man.
Hell yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Especially when it's the Ryder Cup, because that is the most patriotic time that the golfers are getting together, or at least the crowds, except for maybe the one out in Arizona, the Waste Management, where everybody gets pissed drunk and screams and yells the whole time instead of the typical golf crowd that does the nice little golf clap. But yeah, him flying Air Force One over the Ryder Cup was pretty awesome.
The Ryder Cup is as close as you get to a Happy Gilmore golf crowd as you'll ever see.
Except for Waste Management. Have you ever watched that tournament?
I have not.
It takes place on the same weekend, or it used to take place on the same weekend as the Super Bowl. So a lot of people don't watch it. But it is literally just hundreds of thousands of drunken fans, golf fans. They have a hole, I believe it's the 16th hole. It's a par 3. It's called the stadium hole. And so people sit there all day, baking in the sun, getting pissed drunk. And then you've just got a hole that is played within an actual stadium because it's just a par 3. So if you missed a green, you're getting booed into the ground. You get a hole in one or get it close, it is just raining. It's raining beer cans and cups. It's crazy.
This sounds a lot like in Happy Gilmore 2 on Netflix, where it was the guy like, hey, let's make a hip, happier, like more cool golf.
Yeah. But this has been around for a while. I mean, check it out sometime, or at least some clips from it. Just look up the stadium hole from the Waste Management tournament. It's wild, and it's completely unlike anything else in all of golf. So, Gojira, I recently rewatched Untouchables with Costner and Connery. This clown show in DC is killing me. Yes, but they weren't FBI. They were Treasury. Well, and
this is true.
Actually, Connery wasn't even Treasury. He was just deputized by.
Well, they were brought in. No, he was brought in to be.
Did he get brought in officially?
Yeah,
okay.
They became special Treasury agents.
I'm a Treasury agent. All right, then. Wait, why aren't you asking me more? Well, who would claim to be that which they are not? That movie was probably, next to Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, probably my favorite Sean Connery movie of all time.
Sean Connery, I'm trying to think of the movie. All right, so
he has so many good lines in that one.
I really enjoyed Finding Forrester. I like that one.
You're the man now, dog.
Dog. I know you like that one from the trailer. I don't think. Have you seen the whole movie ever?
No, I've never watched the actual movie.
No.
Mad used to try to do that as Mad's Sean Connery, and then I did it one time in front of him. He was like, I have to retire my Finding Forrester Connery thing. So that's the only reason I know it.
Lindsay hasn't seen Untouchables?
Lindsay, move it to the top of the list.
Yeah, actually, Boosh is right. I think The Rock might be my favorite.
I like The Rock. I don't like Sean Connery in it as much as I do The Untouchables. I think Sean Connery is fantastic in The Untouchables.
He won his Oscar for it. So,
Yeah,
that was the Lifetime Achievement Oscar, as it's known, the Best Supporting Actor.
right. Yeah, you finally did something that, we can't ignore.
That's what.
But I think it was deserved for that.
Oh yeah, it's like John Wayne winning for Rooster Cogburn, in True Grit.
Yeah.
He didn't win for. It wasn't necessarily that playing Rooster Cogburn in True Grit was a great performance. It was like he should have won for The Searchers. He should have won for excuse me, for like 7 other movies where he was really good, and so we're finally going to give it to him.
Right. Since he kept Hollywood afloat during the Western age for the most part. And yeah. Watch The Untouchables, Lindsay. And I thought I saw something else that somebody had said.
Bad Chick Bojan said she liked him as Richard the Lionheart in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
For that 1 minute cameo. And Mark's coming in with the painful one, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not that he was bad in it; it just wasn't the greatest movie.
I don't mind League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I find it a perfectly acceptable popcorn movie.
I didn't say bad movie. I just said not the greatest movie. I've watched it multiple times. I haven't watched a lot of things that have come out recently.
His experience on it apparently was so horrendous that he quit acting.
He quit acting altogether. Yeah, I remember he did the James Bond movies. I really didn't start watching James Bond until Pierce Brosnan, so it doesn't have the same effect on me. Tina, you haven't watched The Untouchables either? All right, everybody's got homework for next week.
Yep. Yeah, he didn't have a huge part in Time Bandits, but it was an interesting part. He was playing Agamemnon, who was really happy to have found a new male heir, and then his wife murdered him. Now, they glossed over the fact that apparently, according to the myth, he murdered his daughter to secure favorable winds to invade Troy. So maybe that's why his wife was mad. But, they left that out, so it was hard to get. Whatever. Agamemnon is a complicated man.
Yep, and then Dune brought him in as a that was what one of in the Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson books. Agamemnon is one of the people one of the Cytex or Cymex that turned against humanity.
He wasn't that Agamemnon, though.
I think that's who it was supposed to be named after.
He was a future human who.
No, I know it wasn't that Agamemnon.
Yeah.
They traced that line, which ends up being the Atreides line, back to Agamemnon. That's where he took the name from. Because supposedly at that point in Dune, they were able to trace all the way back to ancient Greece. So, but yeah, it's not like he was supposed to be that Agamemnon. He just took the name because of that.
That whole expanded lore of Dune stuff got a little complicated. They really went deep dive on some of those things. But
I liked it as a separate thing from the main Dune storyline, because the main Dune storyline is thick. The other stuff was just kind of fun, pulp novel type stuff. So, and I've read it all. But we probably have a little bit more politics, right? What are you thinking about the government shutdown that's looming? And do you think Trump is actually rooting for it, or do you think he's actually going to try to make a deal with Schumer and Jeffries here at the last minute because they're begging him to get back to the table?
That's because Russ Vought is salivating. So here's the thing about government shutdowns.
Nothing shuts down.
No. So in the event of a government shutdown, it's the executive branch that gets to determine what is considered essential services and has to say.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, and this is what is really fun for Trump and Russ Vought specifically, who heads OMB, the Office of Management Budget. If it's a government shutdown, they get to basically speed run government layoffs, permanent
Right.
government layoffs, as in permanent firings, not furloughed, not you're coming back when the government gets going. You are permanently pink slipped because you're not an essential, and we
Weird.
can't
You're
have it.
non-essential now, so maybe when the government is running, then you're also non-essential. You're fired.
Yep. So Trump is actually daring them because he's running, as you know, he's run into a lot of log jams where he tries to do these reduction in forces, and he has to go through a lot of administrative steps in courts to finally get okayed on doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas because this is a government shutdown, that eliminates a lot of those protections. They just go away because these are government shutdown rules, and he can just yoink, you're all fired.
Yeah.
Russ Vought has considered tentatively permanently laying off up to 84,000 government employees.
Yeah.
If in the event of a shutdown.
Small drop in the bucket, but yeah.
I mean, it's a small drop in the bucket, but do you know?
But it's
what that-
84,000.
But do you know what that does to the Democrat Party as an institution? They count on these are jobs that make 100 to 200 plus grand a year.
Right.
That make lots of donations. That is part of their Democrat circle jerk support structure.
Mm-hmm.
If those start going away, and then they start getting that, and remember, Trump he's already cut into deeply, because the Supreme Court this week finally okayed the cutting. They did basically what's essentially going to become
The rescissions package.
for not this one wasn't even officially rescissioned. It was because he held back $4 billion in grants through USAID to foreign governments, but these were specifically earmarked ones.
Right.
But Trump's administration made the point that because they were going to foreign organizations, they fell under his ability to operate foreign policy, and thereby allowed him to make a decision if it was not in the U.S. interest from a foreign policy standpoint to give this money out, even though it was specifically earmarked by Congress, he can hold it. And in a 6-3 decision, they backed him.
Right.
Now, it was a temporary injunction, but but they backed him and essentially said when they sent it back that here we're pretty sure that we're going to agree with him when it comes to the merits. And because they're sending it back, it'll be going into the new fiscal year when that happens, and the money will expire anyway.
Right.
It'll no longer be usable. So it's on a time. This decision this week essentially time limited them out of ever getting it.
Yeah. And I think Trump probably is looking at this as a win-win situation. Either the Democrats cave and the government stays open, or the Democrats refuse to cave and keep demanding that we refund NPR and PBS and, health care for illegals, and they close down the government, then, option B comes into play that we just discussed. So I don't think he has a problem either way. And this
No.
only funds it through what, November? And we're avoiding a shutdown to fund for 2 more months. Well, 1.5 months at this point.
But that's for certain parts of the government, because you know what the one big beautiful bill did? Funded all the parts that he needs to be funded for the rest of the year.
Right. Which
So
means the non-essential, or what will be named essential and non-essential, also
so that's the other
has a
thing.
place there.
If you're if you go back and listen to the old episodes of the Bullpen, when we were talking about it, and we said the reason you passed this bill is because it funds Trump's priorities without having to go back to Congress.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important. This is why that was an important thing, because when the government shuts down, quote unquote, it's not shutting down ICE anymore. It's not shutting down Homeland Security. It's not going to shut down any of those things. They were all funded and are good to go. which is another reason Trump is holding strong. He's like, I don't have anything to lose. My priorities are funded, and I can fire all these government employees. It's Schumer and Jeffries expected him to cave because they were talking about healthcare, and Trump's like turning it around on him because they're talking about Obamacare subsidies, and Trump is like, they're doing it because they want to give healthcare to illegals,
Yeah.
and they're losing the messaging argument.
And really, every single time, anytime the Democrats try to push anything, it's always about, well, the Republicans are trying to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. It's like that same line has been run since what, the 70s, the 80s. It doesn't really have the same power
Since
anymore.
Reagan. It's been since Reagan, so yeah.
Yeah.
And
But it's amazing if you look at what actually shuts down during a government shutdown. Hardly anything. The mail still runs. All the law enforcement still runs. The IRS can be put under special rules where, they may not be able to do any audits or anything for a few days, and passports may take a little bit longer to issue. But outside of that, I mean, there's not really a shutdown.
Here's what happens,
and everybody gets paid back pay.
So that's that's when they're furloughed under normal circumstances. I don't think
if they're not being fired. Yeah.
But yeah, so the executive branch determines what's essential and not. And like, for example, when Obama was in charge, when the government shut down, he had the Park Service go up and put gates on the National Mall, which is a giant walking mall,
just to create as much pain point as possible.
And he did it right when, wouldn't you know, NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, they all had their news cameras on to watch it happening. And what do you know? He did it right as the plane full of World War II vets were coming in to go to the World War II memorial. Oh, sorry, guys. Isn't that a shame? You don't get to go to the World War II memorial because the nasty Republicans shut down the government. Now, do you know that they had never, and you know this, well, they had never shut down parks before.
Because there's no reason to.
No, what you do is what they do is they don't have a ranger on their service anymore, and so they just leave the sign up that says it's open from dawn till dusk.
Yeah, and you're at your own risk.
At your own risk. You especially don't need to do it in a freaking open air
mall.
Yeah, where there was no reason. Like putting the barriers up made more of a risk than doing nothing.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think this is going to be something where Schumer is already losing the messaging war, and he knows it, and it's funny.
Well, and the other part was the hilarious part was the Democrats are out there like, the government's about to shut down because of the Republicans, taking no admission to them being the ones who were kind of holding things up, along with a couple of idiots on our side. But they're all complaining that Trump took his granddaughter out to see the Ryder Cup, and it's like, well, believe it or not, it's your job to do this. The president pretty much is just he's basically playing negotiator with you. It's not his job to do it. It's your job. That's what Congress is there for. So if he wants to go off for a one-day vacation to the Ryder Cup, sure, do it. Because like I said, I don't think he cares either way. If it closes down, it's good for him. If it stays open, then there wasn't a government shutdown under him.
Was Congress actually in session and present this weekend?
Right. This weekend? No.
They weren't doing anything.
But they want it to look like he just won't meet with Schumer and Jeffries. And basically what happened was they had a meeting scheduled. Schumer and Jeffries made this stupid list of demands coming from the far left that are all, they're the minority right now, demanding all of these things. And Trump was like, there's no point in speaking with you guys if this is where your starting point is. So I guess I'm going over to the Ryder Cup. Have a great weekend.
Trump turned into
be back to actually get something done when you're supposed to be doing it.
Trump was like Goldmember. I see there is no pleasing you. I'm
there is
leaving.
No pleasing you. Quick mini me. Grab me another golf ball.
All right, so this is not correct. When he says, how can the Dems hold things up? The GOP is majority in both houses and financial stuff can't be filibustered because of this is not reconciliation.
This isn't a reconciliation bill.
The reconciliation isn't on the line. This is just standard government funding, and it can be filibustered, which is why you can put things in that aren't, that the parliamentarian rules are policy. Like, for instance, Obamacare subsidies.
This is one of those that actually requires the actual 60 votes.
That Schumer is and says on record, you need 8 Democrat votes to get it past the filibuster.
And you need Rand Paul and who is it, Murkowski? That's
I think, whatever. Rand Paul is like Massey. He's useless to me now. And Murkowski's such a C word. I almost, she deserves it though. So he needs 8 because there's effectively 52 solid votes on the Republican side,
and then a Vance to break a tie. Well, no, there wouldn't be a tie in this one. It's 60 or nothing.
Now here's the thing: the Democrats could choose not to filibuster, in which case a majority vote would be all you'd need, but they're not doing that.
They're not going to do that.
Schumer has already said. Yeah, that it's going to go in there. Here's the other thing. They still collect tax revenue. They're still going to collect tariff revenue. They're going to have the money to prioritize, as, military paychecks will stop being processed if the shutdown goes long. No, he will be able to prioritize and pay them. So again, that's a point.
That's the thing with Obama making things a pain point. You don't have to. Obama chose to. Trump doesn't have to do anything that would be detrimental to the military or to other processes. So
if he determines as the executive that it is part of the essential services that we make those payments, they get made.
Yeah.
Except that hasn't in the past. That's because they use. All right, so David, they use it as. I don't want to call you a pawn, but I'm going to tell you, they are specifically using you as a pawn to try to make sure it gets done. It's, it's what they do.
They do it all the time. They try to make it as painful as possible, and they try to always blame any government shutdown on the Republicans, no matter which party's in power. It's always either the Republicans won't play ball or the Republicans won't give us their votes to just do whatever the hell we want. Almost every single time. No shutdowns ever get blamed on the Democrats. At least not any that I can think of during the last 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And half the time, they're for like 12 hours. And it doesn't seem like they go on hardly at all. It's like, oh, yay, we got the government funded again. Okay, good. Maybe they should actually pass a freaking budget out of Congress. A real one.
Yeah, so
stop kicking the can down every couple months.
Yeah, so I'm looking up like Military Times did an article on it, and they said under current guidance, this is what you'd expect, in that that based on previous guidance, active duty and guard would possibly get stopped getting paid until a new deal is reached, but military retirees would continue to receive their pay, which is funded from a different source. Again, that's based on the guidance from the executive branch and the DOD. So they could easily just issue new guidance and keep paying. It's
how much you want to make it a pain point.
Now, what they probably not do is PCS and paying for moves, where they move families from one base to another, as Brahma's aware of right now.
This week,
they would probably, if the government shut down, they would probably put future versions. They would probably put on hold because they don't want to have to write checks to outside, vendors who assist with moving and things like that. Those
I actually wonder if that'll come into play this week.
I mean,
because they move on the 2nd, so the shutdown goes into effect if they don't get a deal on the 30th, right? 30th is the drop dead date on the government shutdown.
Yeah, I agree with you, David, that in all previous history, they use the DoD as pawns because it's a pain point to make a deal get done.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you that they have done that previously. I'm just saying that the executive branch could issue new guidelines and there's money flowing in to do it. Tariff money, as an example, which is not allocated by appropriated by Congress, but brought in by the executive branch. Trump could issue guidance to Scott Bessent as Treasury and tell him that in the event of a government shutdown, tariff money should be used to cover military personnel active duties salary until such time as the government is reopened. There's lots of ways they could adjust their previous way, but they don't. I agree. This is the best way. They could, but they haven't. It's a sad thing to say that people in the military are used as a pain point. It's because everybody likes people in the military. Well, not everybody. 80% of America,
the patriotic people like the military.
Likes the military. So, but I will say, as any group goes, the people who would get back pay would be the military. I don't know about regular federal employees. I'm not so sure about this time. I think they may be getting, or they may what's called RIFT. I know I got RIFT earlier this year, so I know what that's like. I still think it's funny because did you ever see some of the Reddit thread they started about me when I got RIFT?
No.
It was hilarious, where people were, because I'd made a post where like I got my layoff notice. But I'm generally supportive.
You got
of
cut
Trump.
by Doge. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, but I think Trump is doing the right thing, so I shouldn't. But I'm not going to bitch about it. And they were like, oh, look at this brain dead schlo. He's just a Trump cultist because he's been.
No, you got what you voted for, and you were fine with it because that's what you voted for.
Yeah,
and yeah, I think all federal employees, for the most part, get their back pay.
Yeah,
normally. They don't get.
That's always part of. Normally, when the deal is done, they give it. But I think maybe we'll see what happens this time.
It depends on the positions, but I think David's right on that one. It's actually, if you are a regular federal employee, you get your back pay. Even if you're not doing anything. So
what I'd say is the caveat imperator, right? It's law that regular federal employees will get back pay. It's law that will happen until they pass a bill to end the shutdown that says it doesn't. And then,
they could throw whatever into the actual.
Yeah, it's just
bill.
You could put, if you put it, you can't handcuff a future Congress's ability to appropriate with past one.
Right.
So it's interesting.
It's in flux. Yeah. So we had one last big topic for the week that I can think of: Tylenol, vaccines, and autism. Which I didn't get to watch the full press conference, but the study is coming from Harvard. It's, I think, a total of like 70 studies, and we've got plenty of evidence from Tylenol's past that acetaminophen during pregnancy has been known to have some issues. Also, taking vaccines as a baby, especially the numbers that we give them now, and then telling them, okay, give the baby Tylenol if if they spike a fever or have any anything happening because of the vaccines. And it's now, according to RFK and Maha and Trump, being linked to some autism. So the left has lost their freaking minds on this. Trump said it, so we're going to go overdose on Tylenol as pregnant people just to stick it to Trump. It's
ridiculous.
It's coming from Harvard, not exactly a right-wing place in any way at all. Tylenol has said it in the past. We've seen the tweets. 2017, they said, we do not recommend any pregnant person using our stuff. And yeah, Gojira, they're latching onto it in the same way like they tried to claim that he said to drink bleach. Only this one is a little bit more serious. But I mean, my take on it with left, at least, is it doesn't matter what he says, they're going to go against it. But also, the left has a death culture right now. And because of the way they believe in abortion, I don't believe that any of them think it's wrong to do anything like overdose on Tylenol while you're pregnant, because it's your body, your choice. And they don't really give a crap what happens to a baby. But it's amazing to me that they absolutely will not listen to any voice of reason. And it may not be the direct link. It may not, it may come out in other studies that, okay, we may have been slightly wrong on this. But there's been plenty of times when studies have come out years and years later that, yeah, we were wrong on all the stuff we were thinking back then, which may be this case. And I remember Jenny McCarthy talking about the vaccines with her kid and the autism, what, 15 years ago? 10, 15 years ago?
And she
I mean, this
actually
is not the
also
first time it has been brought up.
she brought up Tylenol specifically with the vaccine. And so
Yeah.
to get to, because Jenny McCarthy actually gave a rather succinct and easy to understand explanation.
The
for
heavy
one of the-
metals in the vaccines,
for-
along with the blocking of Tylenol.
With Tylenol suppressing your body and with the natural way it processes harmful materials makes your body more susceptible. And then when you increase the vaccine schedule and you start giving these multi-vaccines in single doses,
MMRs.
you run the risk of all that stuff. I think
there is a link, and yeah, I mean, if you're going to trust the science,
all right,
then maybe
so-
listen to the science.
Yeah, so here it is, Godzillionaire, who is being silly. I will address it specifically. Yes, Tylenol's been around since the 1950s, back when we were giving one vaccine for one thing.
For each thing, and
Yeah.
spread out over
No,
years.
and
Not
specifically, like, I mean, we didn't really give childhood vaccines the same way in the 1950s, right? It was the beginning era of vaccinations. In the 1980s, we were giving a few, but by the late 80s, early 90s, when they passed, and this is the part where I know people are like Godzillionaire here who who said that, RFK is just a lawyer, I don't trust him. When you give absolute immunity to pharmaceutical companies from a vaccine injury standpoint, and then within a couple years, the childhood vaccine schedule fucking explodes, it doesn't seem coincidental, because it becomes the bottom line major profit center of your pharmaceutical company to have millions of people every year have to get your vaccinations that you produce. It's not shocking to think you might just not care because you're not going to get sued anymore. If children get vaccine injuries, they have to go through the VEERS thing, and they'll get a government approved settlement of whatever amount of money the government says is okay from a government pool of money.
right. And David, I mean, this is what we're saying. The difference is, and we're not experts either. The difference is, though, the vaccine schedule is so much different at this point. So getting, a tetanus shot versus getting 12 shots within an hour of being born, and then another 30 within a month of being born, that's not the same as it has been for 150 years. And if you look at the autism rates of like our generations and above versus the younger generations, something changed. I mean, there is definitely something that changed there. And it's not just we identify more things as the spectrum, because that same spectrum should apply to all the generations.
David clarified that he's also saying that as a counterpoint to Godzillionaire, that acetaminophen on its own has been around that long, but it was when it was mixed with these.
And
new
I'm not
changes.
attacking. I'm just clarifying our stance.
Yeah, I also think you can also point out, and I'll say this is the doctors have gotten super lazy about just like, oh yeah, just take Tylenol. Just take like
Everything for an infant is Tylenol. That's all they tell you to do for an infant.
Acetaminophen's been around 150 years, but for 125 of those years, doctors told pregnant women to take nothing. Don't put anything into your body except like the only thing they wanted you to take were prenatal vitamins to supplement vitamins, like just to get more of the minerals you needed. But around again the 80s, when doctors got lazy, and I worked in the medical industry, I managed healthcare offices. I'm very aware of how lazy doctors got. They would get they would just start right. Look, as a good example, the reason we had a massive spike in people becoming addicted to prescription drugs was because doctors got super lazy, let themselves get talked into prescribing all the oxys in large quantities because the pharmaceutical companies, took them out on trips to do it, and they didn't give a shit, and they just wrote prescriptions like they were candy. And then it was like, oh no, hey, guess what? When they cracked down on on the oxys being a problem, do you know what the doctors were told to do instead? Give them Tylenol. Just start giving Tylenol like it's candy. Back in the day when the people lived to the ripe old age of died in childbirth, maybe that was also when we convinced doctors to wash their hands, Godzillionaire. That was when a lot of that stuff started disappearing. Don't forget, people, doctors fought against washing their hands before surgery into the early 1900s. They were like, that's bullshit. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. What's a germ?
There were doctors who fought, I can tell you, because this is crazy to me, but I had doctors who started working in the 70s and hated having to wear gloves when they did exams. They didn't like it. And this is, I'm not dating myself, but this was into the 2000s where they would still bitch about, and they would try to sneak not wearing gloves sometimes. And I'd have to yell at them as the administrator, you can't ever not wear gloves, old man. You got to wear gloves every time. And they're like, well, who's going to complain? I was like, anybody. People, your assistants could complain, the patients could complain, the patient parent could complain, like all sorts of people could complain. Not to mention, we've been through the OSHA bloodborne pathogens training. You know better. You need to wear gloves, asshole.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who's a medical doctor, has done all his continuing education, and still didn't want to wear gloves. So just because, you think that trust the science, how could a doctor ever be wrong about anything? Doctor, like, I've got one of my favorite fun advertisement things I had hanging up in my room when I was a high schooler, because I'm a Yankees fan, was it was like a little plate of a advertisement that Babe Ruth had done. And it was for I think it was Lucky Strikes. And it was like 4 out of 5 doctors recommend the smooth flavor of Lucky Strike. And I was just like, I wanted that up there because people were like, why would you do that? I was like, because Babe Ruth died of throat cancer. So I think it's hilarious that he was doing an ad where he was talking about 4 out of 5 doctors recommending these cigarettes. Just as it was in my mind, it was my way of saying, just experts aren't always right. Experts can fall into traps,
Yeah.
Just because you suddenly have 20, 30 years of people telling you this is what it's supposed to be doesn't mean that they're right about it. It's the scientific method by design is supposed to be questioned constantly.
It's meant to be tested constantly.
Yeah.
There is no I am the science, Dr. Fauci.
In fact, when you get a scientific consensus is the time where you should be the most skeptical of it.
Climate change.
Climate change is a good example. I think it's funny because was it Neil deGrasse Tyson did a new version of the show Cosmos, the one that Carl Sagan had done in the 70s. And it was on Fox, and it was produced by Seth MacFarlane.
The one where he talked about gender and sex and all that kind of stuff?
One of the things they did is they went back and he was talking about Copernicus, right? Mm-hmm. The man who was like the earth revolves around the sun, not the other way around. And he was like, and the establishment hounded Copernicus for doing this because it was against the orthodoxy, and told him he would get burned at the stake, all these things. And I'm like, you're not seeing the hypocrisy or the silly, and because in the next episode they were doing climate change. It's like, once the establishment tells you that there's no room to question or test, they are wrong, because we're always learning more. Brahma, as a fan of the three body problem, knows about the turkey paradox, right? The Thanksgiving paradox for turkeys, right?
Yep.
And it's a great example. Just because the information you have for a small period of time tells you everything is supposed to be one way,
And let's
doesn't
explain it
mean-
real quick.
Yeah.
So the turkey paradox is every morning the farmer comes out and at 10 a.m. he gives all the turkeys their food. And all the turkeys are happy all year long because every morning they know without fail, science tells them, the science turkey tells them, don't worry, at 10 o'clock, the farmer's going to come out and he's going to give us a whole bunch of feed and we're all going to be fine and we're all going to get fat. This is a law of the natural world because this is what we have observed every day. And then Thanksgiving comes and things change. All the turkeys then get beheaded and eaten for Thanksgiving. So a law of science is not always a law. It's what we have observed. No, Jaffo, I love Three Body Problem. I even liked the show. A lot of other people didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was
Brahma-
the greatest show, but I liked the show and I love the books.
Yeah, Brahma
I think
and
the
I were
books are
the
fantastic.
defenders of the show. Other in when we were doing reviews on my program that we did here, when we talked about it, we couldn't. Even
But I
do
had
the
also
whole
read the
show.
books before the show, so I was anticipating the show. No, I liked it, Jaffo, and I think if they go to other seasons and they get in the rest of the stuff that is coming in the books, people are going to probably turn around on it a little bit. It may be too dense for actual TV. That's the problem with those books. It's very dense scientific concepts.
Yeah, it's hard science fiction, as it's called, right?
Extremely
There-
hard.
So on the science fiction scale, on the one end, on the right end of the scale, if you're looking at this spectrum, there's what's called sci-fantasy. That's something that Doctor Who would fall into.
Star
right?
Wars.
Star Wars, where you basically can make up
Western
you
in
make up
space.
whatever you want. You're not dealing with any rules. Like, oh,
You
it's
have
the Force.
It's a fantasy thing.
Or if you're Doctor Who, it's timey-wimey gobbledygook, right? Whatever. And then on the very other side of the spectrum, you have hard science fiction, where it's like that's where I'd put The Expanse, where you'd put Three Body Problem.
Actual scientific concepts put into a
Yeah.
show rather than we make up a word when we need to figure out how to get out of something.
Yeah, that's Star Trek. So, like where it's Star Trek's kind of in the middle. Star Trek kind of bridge where they wanted to be. Sometimes they'd want to be hard science fiction, but they still leaned more into the science fantasy western kind of thing, where they would still just say quantum whatever and it would make it work. Yeah, but where I love it, like as an example, like The Expanse, one of the first shows where they got into the real scientific reality of what a colony in a space situation would look like.
How they would
With-
basically be not actual humans. It would be a separate human race at that
Yeah,
point.
because your bone density would immediately be so like you could
You
never
couldn't even
set
go
foot
back
on
to
Earth.
Earth.
If
Yeah.
you set on foot on regular Earth where it's a 1G environment, you would be crushed.
Your skeleton would collapse.
Your bones would just break. And they addressed it. They had to do exosuits or take special medications to supplement their bone structure. I mean, that's or when they're talking about accelerating to speeds, they have to have special drug concoctions to make your body limber enough to handle the G forces.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of that's hard science fiction where you're addressing the the realities of being in space or doing that
even
kind of stuff.
any movie where they go deep diving and they have to actually believe in the bends happening. You can't just raise to the surface immediately without bad things happening. I mean,
No.
even that's hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
Those like the abyss, that kind of thing. But E-Clay, you're a damn liar. I did not like the new Crow. I hated it. If you're talking about the old Crow, then yeah, it's a great movie. It's one of the best movies ever made.
Awesome one. I thought I was the only one. I really liked Beekman's World much better than Bill Nye the Science Guy, but
I didn't care for either.
you were just like, they're not Rush Limbaugh.
They aren't Rush Limbaugh, and they aren't what was the guy when we were really little? what was the show with the older guy, the bald
Are
guy?
you talking about the Mr. Wizard?
Yeah.
The one that the Dinosaurs TV show made fun of. We're gonna need another
Yeah.
Timmy because he kept blowing him up.
Yep. I mean I didn't watch Beekman's all that much. I didn't watch Bill Nye ever. But yeah, Mr. Wizard, that was our thing back in the day.
Yep. I
But
guess
the other thing, hepatitis B shot. They tried to push it on the granddaughter, and we were like, hell no.
no.
Does the mother have hepatitis B? No.
Nope.
Then there is no chance of transmission.
Exactly.
Trump is right. 12 years old is probably about the right time. I mean, they can put out new guidelines and that kind of stuff, but there is no reason for a 1 hour old to have hepatitis B shots unless the mother has hepatitis B. And the whole argument that they try to make, if you don't want to get it, is, well, you don't know where the father has been or where he will be. What? There's no reason for it, ever. So everybody on Twitter who's arguing about hepatitis B shot being needed as a 1 month or 1 hour old, that's absolute insanity. And that is what we're talking about on the vaccine schedule. I mean, there's just stupid things they're doing. And any parent, I wish I had known more then what I know now. We would have made them split up the vaccines. Of course, that was 20 years ago, so it's not quite the same schedule. They've gone even crazier since.
I know.
But,
plus, in addition, they obviously they've added the COVID ones. Although,
yeah, like 6 of them before the first year is up.
Yeah,
I mean,
look, logistically,
babies have no issues with COVID.
From a risk management standpoint, it is crazy to think that they're pushing COVID vaccinations on children. Any children under the age of 18 when it comes to COVID. The risk is
the myocarditis is far worse than what COVID's going to do to you at that age. And really, who actually gets tested for COVID anymore? If you get sick, is it your first thought, I better go find out if I've got COVID? Nobody in their right mind does that. I mean, the people that are wearing their masks in their cars still and at every grocery store are the ones that, oh, I got the sniffles, I better go check and see if it's COVID. Kids aren't having any issues with this. I would love to see what the COVID death counter is for this year.
Well, it's probably directly inverse to the flu, since when COVID happened, magically we had no deaths from the flu for 2 years.
Did nothing. Yeah. It's insane. Copied, if you're still around, send us whatever the question you had was, because I can't think of any other topics that we had. Do you have any other ones?
No, not anything.
I mean, it wasn't the most eventful week, but there lots of things happened. Also, Fetterman may be the only leftist with the brain left in government.
Yeah.
And that's after recovering from a severe stroke.
It's a bold statement, but yeah, I think that's true. The more he gets away from his villainous
wife,
spouse, I think the better.
Bush said he sent something to talk about, so let me pull up what it is. Copied. Thanks for putting me on the spot. I don't remember. Take my money instead. Well, I mean,
we appreciate it, but
I appreciate it. When we did the thing, you said in the comments afterwards, I thought of a really good question. Remind me, next show. And then we had all the Charlie Kirk stuff. So we couldn't really go into it or do a lighthearted segment because it was a little bit of a crazy time for the past few weeks.
Do the thing.
But thank you very much, copied. Boosh. California Senate Bill 771 has been enrolled and sent to Governor Gavin Newsom, who must sign or veto it by October 13th. Seeks to hold social media platforms accountable for using algorithms to amplify threatening or harassing content that targets individuals based on protected characteristics like race, religion, and gender. Creates a civil liability issue in California regarding social media, with penalties up to $1 million.
Won't hold up to First Amendment scrutiny at all.
Nope. California is throwing anything they can at the wall and seeing if it'll stick. Them trying to pass the no masks thing doesn't apply to ICE because they're federal agents. And really, I mean, let's talk about it just for a second. The rates of violence against ICE over the past year are up 1,000%. And that's threats against ICE, against their family members, against everybody. So, yeah, I can understand why they're using masks. If you're literally having everybody document you and you've got people using apps to try to point out where different ICE people are and then following them home, doing all these things to try to harass ICE, who's just doing their jobs. I mean, if you want the law changed, as Tom Homan said, change the law. But right now, they're just enforcing the law. And they're getting death threats over it. And of course, they're going to try to hide their identities because they're trying to do their job, not get killed. And with 1,000% increase in death threats, you're damn right they should be allowed to keep their identities hidden. What do you got?
Speaking of that, we've got footage
Portland
of
firing off.
some of our first arrests with the people pulling from the Antifa crowd by hands and feet to make the arrest. So this is the standard way.
Technically, they're being way too nice to them by not dragging them across concrete.
Well, this is how you do it in a rioting situation, right? You see the big zip tie. You go in, you confront, and where one person gets a little, gets too rowdy and lays hands.
Puts their hands on anybody or does
you
anything.
pull them out, isolate them, and then arrest them away from the group.
Yeah, all I'm saying is I wouldn't be carrying them. I would be dragging them across the concrete. Give them a little bit of road burn on the way. Road rash.
So, yep, and you
so
can
is this
see,
Portland or is this Chicago or is this LA?
Portland.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got them. They're clear. They're set up with their non-lethal rounds, pepper balls.
And keep in mind, this is all like one square block is where all of this happens. Every
right
night
outside, yeah.
they go down to the ICE detention center and they start acting the fool.
Mm-hmm.
Every single night.
Yeah. So they go in. This is where I think they're setting up with the tactics. They're just getting ready to gear up, right? Because until they make a move like that one guy did, they don't want to, interrupt the right to protest. It is First Amendment. But, once you go too far.
I can't wait until they go after the funding for all of this stuff under the new labeling of Antifa as domestic terrorist. When they start actually looking into the funding of who is paying for all these protests and bringing the bricks, what part of the bricks is for a peaceful protest?
That's a good question.
That should automatically be a criminal offense. Whoever funded the bricks, if it gets tracked back to anybody, that should automatically be you go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet they're going to trace most of it back to George Soros.
Soros is smart enough where he would, he's going to not leave his fingerprints directly. What he'll do is the Soros Foundation will make a donation to Organization A, who acts as a middleman and sends it to Organization B.
Yes, which they found 80 million of this week.
Yeah. But
if they can track it to that, then they know Soros is funding that. If those funds are going towards that, at some point you can draw the line.
So the question is for now, this is the difference between making a charge stick for conviction and jamming someone up.
Right.
Logistically, to do conviction, you'd have to prove that they had
The actual connection and
actual knowledge.
Money is not fungible. It's actually going straight to them.
Yes, that they had actual knowledge their money was being used for something bad.
At this point, if you jam them up, fine with that. Do
But
it for at least 3 years.
Yeah, but jamming them. But if you bring the RICO charges and delay the case for a while, it's going to jam them up for a long time. And
Yep.
here's the other thing: if someone's in a RICO charge, guess what you get to do to their accounts? They all
Freeze?
get frozen. All of them are frozen pending the investigation. And you might even do civil asset forfeiture.
Yeah.
Which is something I'm not generally a fan of, actually. I don't like the way some police departments use that to pad their budgets. Yeah, as David says, the
In
process
general,
is the
yeah.
punishment.
Yep. But I think we're all fed up with what the left is doing with these peaceful protests, the peaceful but fiery protests. So, copied, you have an open invitation to ask the question anytime you think of it, because you not only funded the night of Ask Us Anything, then you funded, with the same amount, you not having to ask the question tonight. So, but Chad, I know you get to go into work on Mondays now, right?
I do, because I wasn't riffed forever. I got a good job and it's awesome. And I made more than when I worked somewhere else. So suck it, all those people on Reddit.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you have a skill set that isn't specialized to just doing aid work for people in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea or something, you can get new jobs. So I do. It is funny that when you see some of the people who get riffed from the State Department and they have like such specialized job, like especially if you go to their LinkedIn, it's like, I know how to do program management for third world well building in arid African climates. It's like, that's a very specialized skill set. Maybe you should have taken a business class. Maybe maybe you should just be a program manager and have a PMP, just a program management certification. No, they went super specific. Not a good idea.
Yeah.
No awesome one. I've had a good PC for a couple years now that I was shamed into getting.
He has my
and
PC.
Now I can do. In fact, mine apparently runs a little better than Brahma with some games that have that anti-cheat, because apparently mine doesn't sound like a old McDonnell Douglas plane taking off on the runway.
Yours doesn't have a pack of cigarettes going through its fans every day in a garage full of dust and bugs.
That's probably true. That's probably what does it.
Yep, that's what does it. But I did get one of these nifty little things that instead of having an air, the canisters of air that cost like $8 for air, I've got this thing which is rechargeable and very strong. So now I blow out the computer every day.
You blow your computer every day?
Every day. As well as my desk and everywhere else out here in the garage, because since I started shooting salt all over the places at flies and moths, there is salt everywhere.
Man, it's like you're a guy running away from Sodom and you looked around the wrong way.
Yeah. So I was going to ask a question, because me and the daughter were having an argument earlier. So tonight I went with the far more zoomed out view that shows more of the background and some books on the shelf and all the games and the liquor. Do people like this, or do people like my usual, like on Comix Division, where I'm more zoomed in like this? Because she likes to see the background more than me, but that's my daughter. So I don't know. You guys tell me. Which do you prefer? Because I don't care either way. But if one looks better than the other, I'll stick with it. Put it in the comments. We need comments anyway to show that people were actually here. But Chad, what do you got coming up this week?
Well, we've got MadEPAP on Tuesday, where I guess we're going to do the second half of the really long story we were doing.
Oh man, that got bad. I think Mad was about to fall asleep. I was very much struggling to pay attention to what was going on by the end of that one.
I was tired, and I was the one reading it.
Yeah.
I lost my place like twice.
But it was also you reading it, I think, that was making us tired after that long.
He gave me.
It's like listening to my audiobooks before I go to bed.
I love when Mad was like, "We're almost done, right?" I was like, "No." He's like, "How
No,
long
there's
do we
10
got?"
pages left.
I was like, "You're the one who you're the one who wrote this and sent it to me. You should. How do you not remember?" So, it's funny. What is? I think. Oh, Davina says, "I think the close in matches the other panelists,"
which is typically why I do it on comic shows. But on Chad's show and my show, I'm usually the only one on camera. So I may do the zoomed out if there are no other people on camera. Because like when I'm up here with comics and culture and a few others, I try to match about how zoomed in they are. So, but I do have I do like having a bit more of the background if I'm the only person on camera.
Copied. I 100% would turn my camera on if I didn't need to keep my job in government contracting. So I keep that low profile, and it's going to stay that way, unfortunately, for a little while longer. If you keep supporting the team and everyone else starts supporting the team, and we can get my channel on the Ascendant Art podcast up to 500 plus subs to get monetized, eventually maybe the camera comes on. Who knows? But for right now,
the link to his channel is in the description.
For right now, unfortunately, my camera stays off because as awesome as it is hanging out with YouTube, it definitely does not come close to what I'm getting compensated not working on YouTube.
And there's actually enough information out there about me that anybody could find out who I am. And I was always on camera, so I don't really care at this point. I mean, talking about politics is really not all that exciting. That people can find out who you are when we had what happened a few weeks ago, but I'm not at that level. So Eric K says, I would prefer you have Sydney Sweeney's picture. I think we all would. But to what Tina and Copied were saying, that is why, like on Ascendant Art, even though everybody else for the most part is an avatar, I tend to try to come in on camera because I think yeah, it's nice to see actual people talk instead of avatars sometimes. I understand why people use the avatars, but I'm also, since I'm used to being on camera, I try to do that so at least somebody is on camera. It's
I guess
a little bit more dynamic.
David P., you may not have checked out the Ascendant Art podcast episode where myself, Slenderdad, and I think Brahma joined in too, used our anime girl avatars like we were VTubers.
Yeah, we all created VTuber female avatars.
We
even just couldn't get the voices to work correctly.
I had one where it was doing the tracking, so it was watching my head movements and everything, but it was my normal voice, so it was very, I think, uncanny valley.
Creepy?
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, I bet even with my normal voice, if I made another channel with a VTuber girl, it would probably get more subs quicker than my Ascendant Art channel.
Them big bouncing boobs get subs.
I mean,
even with a Chad voice.
That reminds me, we should have Cinevere on again.
Yeah.
Because she's pretty solid at getting the big bouncy anime
just
stuff.
get the rest of us that don't watch anime every day bored out of our minds while you guys talk about it, but it does attract people.
I'm sorry that anime is fun content.
It's your channel. You do what you want. I'll be there. I just won't be talking during your anime talk. I'll let Cinevere's chest do the talking.
That'll get us.
That'll get you the 140 subs you need.
Hopefully, we gotta get there.
You went over Ascendant Art. Did you go over
We did
Slender? Or-
MadEPAP, Ascendant Art.
Okay,
Is
you went over
Fridays, 9
MadEPAP.
p.m.
Yeah.
Eastern. So yeah, Friday, my actual channel with Slenderdad, where we do our weekly show, which Brahman had pointed out, the link is in the description, is Fridays 9 p.m. Eastern, and then at any given time, Slender runs our side channel, Ascendant Arcade, where our gaming content is housed. He'll go live. He's currently playing Silk Song. I
Silk
think?
Song.
Silk Song.
Yep.
So, which is apparently a very good game.
He's a little under 2/3 through. I finished with 99% completion rate. But he's about a little under 2/3 through. He's on part 12 or 13 now. He's got probably another 10 parts to go. But he's been doing, especially on the weekends, some longer gaming streams of Silk Song, which I don't know. It's gonna be Silk Song, Expedition 33. There were a ton of good games this year that are going to be fighting it out for Game of the Year, because Silk Song could take it. Expedition 33 could also easily take it. There's a lot of good games that came out this year amongst a whole bunch of trash. But
Gaming is
Slender's Ascendant Arcade link is also in the description.
Yeah, it's like I said, we try just try to house the game content separate so that it keeps things clean in terms of the YouTube algorithm. Yeah, because if you start mixing too much stuff, YouTube gets really touchy about that. They don't like it.
When you do, say, a hockey show and a political show, no, they don't like it.
I mean,
That's
well,
why I'm still at 630 subs instead of focusing on one thing and maybe actually getting into the algorithm.
Well, I think part of it, I don't know if that's as big a deal because you're going live streams, right? You're a live stream.
Yeah, I don't do any videos.
And live streaming, like for some reason, YouTube just hates live streaming.
They can't put ads on it.
They want, which is, I don't know. You'd think you'd want people.
You can
just
put it on the
coming to your
replays.
platform.
You can't put it on the ad or on the actual live stream unless I authorize it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like YouTube still won't put ads on whatever they want anyway. But I think because live streaming is, they should be better at it. The problem is then you got Rumble, right? Which Rumble
is all live streaming.
I appreciate that Rumble is fighting the good fights, but Rumble is Rumble's too political, too much. Like Rumble will never be a real competitor to YouTube till they have videos, until they have shit where you just have somebody
how-to videos
where you put
how to change
like,
your oil on a 1999 Honda Civic.
You know, like I was just I had gotten a set of wiper blades at Walmart, and it was a new brand, and it had universal adapters instead of just being, it's like they get this one for your.
But they give you
model.
like 5 different adapters.
Yeah.
You've
So
got to figure out which one is universal to your car.
Exactly. So I had to look up the video of which one to use, how to install it for my car, and I go to YouTube, and what do you know? There's a video right there for it.
Yeah.
And so it took me 5 minutes total from when I opened the package and look at, oh shit, I need to look it up, to watching the YouTube video to having my new wiper blades on. Yeah. Rumble doesn't have that. I've tried. I've looked. Rumble's
not a video platform.
They're
a live streaming platform.
If Rumble was smart, I mean, not that they're not smart. If Rumble was really going for it, go to like a plumbing guy, a plumber who has a big following on YouTube.
A plumber, a mechanic, an engineer, and a farmer.
You know what videos I fall into watching? Landscape guys just cleaning up stuff.
The guys who go and
the overgrown
find
lawns.
a completely ridiculous lawn and then go do that, or magnet fishing.
Yeah, just stuff
something
like
to put
that.
on in the background.
Yeah,
because I can't always listen especially while I work. I've got YouTube on almost constantly, trying to keep up on things and watch people that I liked before I became a streamer. But yeah, you can't always pay attention, so it's nice to have some in the background content that you don't actually have to really pay attention to or give a crap about.
Exactly. And I think, like I said, I really appreciate all the things Rumble does, standing up for free speech, not removing stuff, but they should be investing into some of this other type of content as well to build up Rumble beyond just Steven Crowder Fresh and Fit and all these other very political. I mean, I really think that as troublesome as his content, not as content as some of the things he was doing, I think it was really smart that they went and made the deal with Doctor to Disrespect
the doc.
because that was he's just a game streamer, right?
It wasn't a good deal because they didn't make him go exclusive.
Is he still doing stuff on YouTube?
Yeah, he still does stuff on YouTube. And I mean, it's only a certain amount that's exclusive to Rumble. I mean, if you were going to make that deal, you make it exclusive and tell them you got screwed everywhere else. Come over to us and bring everything with it, and don't go back there.
Did he get demonetized from YouTube?
He did. I don't know if he got remonetized, but he did get demonetized over that last snafu thing. But
I know I know he had left YouTube for Twitch, and Twitch.
No,
was
he
the
left
one...
Twitch for YouTube.
No, I thought Twitch.
He's still persona non grata.
No, I thought he originally was doing YouTube. No, he
was
just
originally
on
a
Twitch.
Twitch. Yep.
Yep.
Got banned on Twitch and banned on. He was not allowed to even appear on anybody else's stream on Twitch. They would ban the person if he appeared on their stream. So he came over and did the YouTube deal. And then the Twitch people were leaking things about him, about the reason he had to leave Twitch, which he won that lawsuit against Twitch. And nothing was proven that he did anything wrong.
But fumbled that situation so bad with his public relations, but that's neither here nor there.
But YouTube then demonetized him on YouTube over the things that were coming out from Twitch. Then he came back and went to Rumble, but he didn't do it exclusively, which is where it was a bad deal for them. I believe he's still completely banned on Twitch, and I don't know if he's monetized on YouTube or if he just occasionally has stuff on YouTube now. But
if I was, I mean, not that I'm...
He also got canceled from his own company, so...
Yeah, I mean, I think he still owns his shares of it. He just isn't involved with it.
Not involved, and they were making a game that he was the main involvement of the input on that game, so...
Yeah. But Twitch has, I mean, to talk about chat, Twitch is going to run into their own big troubles with...
Hassan Piker.
Yep. Oh, man. The game just ended, by the way. It went into overtime. Mad is not going to be happy.
So Mad's going to join any second?
No, Mad's not going to be happy. 40-40 tie.
Wow.
I mean, he would have been happy because the Cowboys came back, and then the Cowboys blew it. They were up. They got it at first in overtime. Got down there, kicked the field goal, but the new overtime rules is each team gets a possession. So
right.
Green Bay went down the field and kicked the tying. Well,
and then time ran out.
With time running out. Yep. So it's a tie. No one wins. Which is funny because ESPN still puts the win probability at 52% for Dallas.
Also, I'm looking at the analytics back here. 55 concurrent viewers on YouTube and 54 likes. So you guys are doing the thing right. But
doing the Lord's work, people. Doing the
Eclay, I haven't seen any messages that I needed to uncover, and we've got Awesome One and a few other mods out there. So I'm sure they're all getting uncovered. I don't know why it doesn't appear on the actual streaming chat on the side.
Yes, David. If the team that possesses first gets a touchdown, it still ends the game. But a field goal,
sudden death
no
if
score,
there's a touchdown.
Yeah,
and it's not sudden death if
they get a field goal.
They don't score. Or they don't score the touchdown. Yeah. As for me, I will be on Comix Division tomorrow night. I'll be on Mad's channel Tuesday night, Wednesday night. I think this is an on week for the Christian panel. Depends on what Keri decides to do. Thursday, I'm back on Comix. Friday, I'm on Ascendant Art with Lil Chad and Slenderdad. Saturday night, we're gearing up for the NHL season. Saturday night will be the NHL fantasy draft for Bourbon and Boarding on my channel and that 70s Rock Fans channel. So if you want to get a team into the fantasy NHL season, contact me or that 70s Rock fan before Saturday so that we can get you the links to sign up for a team. We'll do the draft live next Saturday night at 9 p.m. Mountain. And that's all that show will be, is our fantasy draft. And then Sunday night we're back here. So I hope everybody has a great week. I hope the week is less hectic than this last week was, and there's a little bit less violence from the left. It's getting really old really fast. I mean, we're 9 months into Trump. I don't know what they're going to do for the next 3 years. It's a little bit scary how bad it's gotten in 9 months, and we still have this much left. Don't trust him for anything. But hope everybody does have a great week. And Chad, have a good day at work tomorrow. Here's some credits that we'll talk over.
Of course we will. That's how we do it.
Yes, because people love this song. About 6 of them do, apparently.
Well, if they really love the song, they'll make sure they're members so that they can be seen as the credits for.
I like how the underline goes like 3 characters after the name. And no, I didn't fix your name, Little Chad.
I'm still like asterisk underscore this, that, and the other.
I think it's Chad, or Little 1/4 Chad. It's like you're now part of Garrett's family.
Yeah.
And thanks to everybody who came over with the Culture Casino raid and actually stuck around and watched the show. Hopefully you liked it. Hit that sub button and the notifications. I'll be doing Culture Show going forward every Sunday before this show and leading into the show. I'll take off if he's going a bit long, but we'll still start at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. But I'll be appearing on there and then popping over to here to, there you are, Lily 1/4 ++ Chad. I have no freaking clue.
I don't know what is going on over here, but it's
I don't know.
It's alright.
All right. Everybody have a great night. We'll catch you next week or on any of the other shows we talked about.